Another thing about rental car places, do not buy the insurance if you have your own insurance. They're going to try and scare you because they tell the salespeople to scare the shit out of you. And what I discovered working out in Idaho with this, where there's a lot of Hispanic people who, like the first generation, don't speak English, and so they have their kids talk to you. The only people who buy insurance are people who don't need it, and the only people who don't buy insurance are people who do need it. Where, like, I can't count the number of times I'd be like at a fucking airport location, and some person would come up, like some Mexican lady, and then her very young, like 7-year-old kid, and I'd be like, "Hey, how can I help you, ma'am?" And then the kid would have to say, like, "We want a car." And I'd be like, "That's great. Can you tell your mom that I need her license and her credit card?" And she hands me a license and a very dented debit card, and I have to be like, "No, this is a debit. It's a debit card. You need a credit card." She's like, "No, it's credit. I use a credit card." It's like, yeah, you can hit credit when you're buying a Diet Coke at a 7-Eleven, but when you're renting a $75,000 Yukon, we can't run it as that. You have $75 in your account. And like the number of times I didn't try and sell like rich people any insurance. Like I was the fastest at writing the tickets because I'd be like, "You got insurance, brother?" You'd be like, "Yeah." It's like, "You're fucking perfect. Fucking good, dude. Should I buy the insurance?" No. Like, get out of here. I don't get commission for this. Why the fuck would I rip you off? But then when there would be like a Hispanic woman who comes up, I'm like, "Ma'am, please. If you wreck this," Javier, can you tell your mom what I'm saying right now? If you wreck the Yukon, that's an $80,000 car. 8,000 car.
That's not.
Yeah, 80,000 car. So if you wreck this car, you have to pay for the whole thing. The whole car. Javier, you're obviously looking at the vending machines. Javier, your mom, the whole car. See, yeah, whole car. It's like, so if you pay $20 extra a day, if you wreck it, you don't pay anything. But if you wreck it, your life and your children's lives are ruined. Just pony up and do it. They would never buy the insurance, and it felt like 10% of the time they'd come back and get absolutely fucked. The people who would buy it were like rich white yuppies who already had fantastic AAA or something and would just drop $20 for no reason a day on it. So never buy that shit. There was so much tomfoolery and nonsense. Always check your contracts from those people because they will sneak shit in order to get sales. Like they will tell you, there was one skeevy motherfucker that I worked with that was the worst about this. The forestry registry came in out of Idaho where I was. Apparently that's where the biggest conglomerate of these firefighters come from. And then they all moved from there down to fight the wildfires in California. And they had set contracts. But because we worked on a DOS system, a DOS prompt system, we could manipulate the contracts. And so there was this one bitch who, Amy, if you're out there, I hope life is going terrible for you. I hope it sucks. I hope you got divorced after you left us. And so, because what she did is they have like sales goals. And if you hit a certain thing, they incentivize us by like, you can just go home. You can go home if you want to do that. This bitch would take $20,000 in sales and apply it to a forest registry contract, and those guys don't give a shit. They'll sign whatever. And so then if I'm returning a car on the return lane and it pulls up that what was supposed to be a $1,200 rental for 2 weeks to the forest registry is actually a $35,000 fee, do you know how upset a group of dirty firefighters get when you tell them they owe $35,000 for that? They get so upset. And then I have to call like the fire commissioner of it and tell him, "I'm so sorry. I got to refund $35,000, the cost of a nice fucking Optima that they already paid us." And then I get yelled at. That shit was the fucking worst. That job sucked. Another thing they would fucking do is I worked at the airport many times going all the way to 2 a.m. And you'd be there with the manager and you would run out of cars, just out. And I would have 70 reservations at 1 a.m. by myself, standing at the counter with my little fucking tie like a retard. And I would just hordes of people coming down the escalator to come to the rental place. And I'm just like trying to amp myself up like it's game 7, like, whew, all right, you're going to get yelled at by at least 75 of those people. It's okay. It's okay. Then they all get in line.
It's 75 out of 70.
75 out of 77, they're going to yell at me.
Okay.
Some of them have wives.
Some of them have wives there. None of them, though, because they're getting in. They get in at 2 a.m. Most of them off of planes that were so delayed. They just want their car and they just want to go home.
And they have
And
a reservation, but you didn't reserve one.
have a reservation, and every time, 15 minutes before that plane lands, the manager would go, "It seems like you got a good handle of things, Taylor. I'm out." And they would leave, just to be me there. And they would come in, and you talk to the first guy in line, and he's like, slaps his fucking credit card and license on the table, not pleased. Boom. Reservation Thompson. We're out of cars, Mr. Thompson. What? I have a reservation. The best you could hope for in that situation is that the guy would say the Seinfeld line and I would go, ha. But like that was the best you could hope. Usually you would get screamed at, berated. They'd ask for your name. They'd like call and complain. I'd have to try and be like, the reason they did this is because they're trying. By the end of my tenure at this company, I was like totally like Stockholm syndrome with the shitty customers. I'd be like, we're all in this together, guys. We're all in this together. I'm so sorry. I hate this as much as you do. I make $30,000 a year to get screamed at. I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all. And just doing that.
You want to rent my car? I could use the cash.
What you get to do then is I have to like lean over and talk to the Hertz guy and be like, Tom, please, can you get some of these people going? He's like, Taylor, I'm so sorry, dude. We got like 2 cars and I got to save them. And so I would have to stand there until like 4:30 in the morning with every one of these people, calling cab companies to take them where they need to go, then paying for it over the phone with the corporate card. And then after one of the companies runs out of cabs, I have to find a new cab company for all these people. It was the fucking worst job. It sucked. You get yelled at constantly.
I would be so mad.
It was awful. The only good part of that job is that if somebody came in hot and like you could even whiff just the slightest of alcohol, you could shut it down. Nope, not renting to you. You smell like whiskey. You smell like, and it was only a couple times that a person would come in like stumbling drunk and yell at you because you wouldn't rent them the car they wanted. Also, there's a fundamental misunderstanding about how reservations work. You do not reserve the car. You're not reserving anything.
That's how reservations work, though.
No, for everywhere else. Yeah.
Rental
car companies, they shouldn't call it a reservation. They should call it a consideration.
They should call it a prepayment because that's what it is. You're just signing.
Woody and I showed up at a hotel once, and they'd given our reservation away.
Oh yeah,
and I think we said, "I don't think you know how a reservation works."
Yeah, I think we did.
How a reservation works. Do you know how many times I wanted to leap over that counter and strangle someone to death for saying that Seinfeld line for the 100th time that day? And it was infuriating because the fucking
Why didn't you put a sign up that said all out of cars?
We would, but there's still 80 reservations for the top of the hour, and they still think that when they hop off the plane, they're getting it.
Yeah. If there was no more cars, but I had a reservation, I would think you only have the reserved cars left.
I'm sure you have the vocabulary to make a sign that explains that.
These people are not wanting to read.
Yeah, but if you could just peel off 20% of them,
I think I'd still need to hear it. I think I'd still be like, well, wait, I have a reservation. Because I know how reservations were supposed to work.
Yeah.
I make a sign. All reservations are null and void. We are out of cars. 0 with the word 0 cars.
Now, are you out of cars or are you out of clean cars? What if I have low standards?
So usually the way it works is like those late night ones, there's no car preps there. And so you're literally out. But how it is sometimes, if it's like 5 p.m. and someone shows up and they have a reservation, it's like, I need a minivan. I have to like phone over to the car preps, who are the most degenerate group of no good nicks on earth. You leave anything in your rental car, that shit's getting stolen by one of the ex-cons that work in the car cleaning. I would get asked twice
I knew that.
a day.
They were gifts all along.
Twice a day, I would have to go down there with those animals and be like, did you guys find an iPad? And they'd be like, nope. I'm like, smile at me. And I'd be like, you motherfuckers, can you please give me the iPad? And they're like, what iPad? And I'm like, I don't get paid enough to deal with this. So I just go back and say, I don't have that. We just had, if somebody lost a Garmin or something, we just had a bucket of them. Someone could have walked up and been like, hey, I lost 100 Garmins. I'd be like, just fucking just take them. I don't give a shit.
Garmin, the GPS? Like, weren't those
GPS or something like that?
Okay.
This was like 7 years ago, and so people were still using some of those.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm trying to think of other shit that was just the fucking worst. Oh, we had I had a guy. I got in like a 30-minute argument with a guy that he was smoking in the car, and he was saying that there's no evidence of that. I know my rights. There's no evidence that I was smoking in this car. And so I did what they teach you to do, which is like open up the back rear front door, look at the bottom. There's a pile of ash there. That's how you know they smoked. Didn't have to do that though, because there were dozens of cigarette burns in the seat, in the upholstery.
Wow.
It was a Kia Soul, and it looked like it had been to Vietnam and back.
He put out his cigarettes on the upholstery
Dozens of times. Just speckled shotgun looking thing.
There was no evidence.
I have it. I'll have to send you guys the picture. I guarantee if I go back to like 2013, I have that shit on my phone, because you'd find weird shit in people's cars. You'd find dildos, sex toys. We found a costume once where
Those
you
are
can dress
gifts for the cleaners, Taylor, and I'm surprised you're less appreciative.
one guy we found, he called back to ask. I'll send this too. It's a giant costume that you wear over your whole body, and it has an S on it, and it makes you look like a sperm. Costume. And so this guy had to call at one point, and he was like, yeah, I left a costume in the back of the car. And I was like, what kind of costume, man? And he's like, it's a sperm costume.
You know the costume, Taylor.
I know. I'll send you that picture too. At the time, I just wanted to hear him say it. I had the sperm costume in the office. It was making me laugh so hard. And yeah,
I'm actually wearing it right now. This thing's pretty kick-ass.
Pretty cool. No, I didn't put it on. It smelled weird. And yeah, the only place in the air, probably it was a little bleachy. But the only place worse in the airport that I worked was at an insurance replacement branch. So you know how most times if you're renting a car out of town, you pop by a Hertz, Enterprise, whatever, you go in, just a normal what used to be a bank usually, and it's like, hey, give me whatever the hell, and they go, here you go, and they take it. An insurance replacement branch is when you get in an accident and it's at a body shop and they need to drive their shitty car, have it towed there, and then they get a horrible replacement car from you. And none of these people know, for the most part, that their insurance doesn't pay for rental cars. You have to opt into that in a lot of situations. And so they'll show up furious, like not even the chance to put them in a good mood. So you're like sitting there in the middle of a warehouse like, how's it going, Mr. Jefferson? And he's like, well, I totaled my new car. How's your day going? And it's like, well, I regret to inform you, your insurance will not be covering the rental. How do you prefer to pay? It's like, oh, no, I'm not fucking paying. I'm not. You call my insurance. And then they yell at you. They scream at you. They call you incompetent. They say, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Shut the fuck up. You're a fucking loser. Like they're mean as shit once they're in their zone of being pissed. One guy, it was in a bay, was so, I guess, not paying attention that there's a car in the front of the bay talking to the insurance person. At the entrance to the bay is where the rental place is, where they get you set up. There was a car pulled up to the insurance thing. Thank God no one was standing in the way. This guy must have came into the bay going 22 miles an hour, and he just slams into the back of this other car that's already there for repairs, and there's just fucking glass and shit all over the place. And then he gets out and yells at the lady who had that car there as if she was wrong. And he's like, these people are degenerates. They are the fucking worst a lot of the time. And then other times you'll come across the sweetest people in the world. My first day on that job, where I was working there, they tell me, Taylor, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, how to write contracts yet. Go pick up this lady. She's at this apartment complex. You don't know where it is. And so I had to look it up on my phone. I get over there, and there's like, I don't know what the hell was going on, but there were like a bunch of cars on the curb with people in it. And so I pull up my car there, and I don't know where to go because it's an apartment complex where there's just like stairs come down, and I just wait. I didn't know what to do. I didn't ever number anything. I just wait. And then I'm playing on my phone, and I'm startled because the door, my rear side passenger door opens, and this woman just starts going, oh, thank God you're here. My goodness. I got to strap my kid in the back. Do you mind I do that real quick? She starts strapping her kid in. I haven't said anything at this time. She gets the kid strapped in, and she goes, I left my wallet in there. Give me 1 second. Closes the door. I didn't say anything. I haven't said anything so far. I'm now in the car alone with, I think,
in possession of her child.
The 4 to 5 year old child alone. And like, that is the worst parenting I've ever seen, because I was not the only guy sitting there. There were 5 or 6 people sitting on that curb in a car. I don't know why, but for all she knew, she walked up to a random car, buckled her kid in, and left, because I gave no affirmative acknowledgement of it. It was my first time. I was a little nervous, and so that was weird. Yeah, that job fucking